Okay, so let's start. We're going to have to start with our calculator. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Okay, starting with your calculator, I want you to hit home. 1, no. You'll have the choice of no. I do not because it's already cleaned off. This is the way you always refresh your calculator, okay? In this scenario, it's wanting us to find the exponential regression. The regression is going to be like, it's either like last semester we did the best fit line. In this case, it's going to be the best fit curve because an exponential is a curve, not a line. So it's going to make the curve that's going to fit our points the best. So to do this, we want to start off by adding a list and spreadsheet, since that's what we've got. We've got a list of numbers, right? So we're going to do that. We're going to arrow up to our A blank and put an X, and then we're going to arrow over to our B and put a Y. Then we're just going to come down here to column A, row 1, and we're going to start entering our X values, the 0, 1, 2, 3, 6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 6. After you've done that, then I want you to arrow back up to the top for your Y's and enter the Y's. As you do, be very careful to make sure you're entering them correctly. For example, if I get one of them wrong, like I just typed in that 5 instead of 4, it's going to make my regression incorrect. And if my regression is incorrect, then every single question I answer using it is going to be incorrect as well. So even after you've entered it all, you need to then go back and double check that your X's and Y's are correct and are matched up correctly. So once we've got this done, we're going to go up to row 1 of column C. It's real important that you get out of a typed in column, otherwise you'll get an error when you start this part. So to get our regression, we're going to type menu, and we're going to go to statistics, stat calculations, and remember this is going to be an exponential regression, so we're going to go with an exponential. Our X list is going to be listed under, we called that list the X's, and then we called our Y list the Y's, and then at that point you can just push enter twice. What I'd like for you to notice on here is this is the equation that they've given you right there. So in other words, they've already told you this regression is y equals a times b to the x. And this is the regression, this is the equation we've been working with. Now if you'll notice, we've got y equals, and you can see right here is the a value. So we've got 32,960.2. And then our b value is going to be this 0.841402, and then we're going to raise that to the x power. Okay. Now at this point, it is asking you to put your equation in as a graph, to graph your equation. To do that, it's already in there. You just have to retrieve it. So we're going to add a page. Keep in mind, this page is lists and spreadsheets. We want to add a graph page. When it pulls up, you're going to notice you've got F2 of X. If you will arrow up one, they've already put it in there for you, but you just need to graph it, because in this box up here, you'll notice there's no check mark. So if I push enter, it will graph it. Now I know you don't see anything, but the reason you don't see anything is because it's outside of our window. So I'm going to put it in my window, and I'm going to do that by doing menu, window, and I want to do zoom fit, because then it'll go find it for me. And now I can actually see my graph. Okay, so it says based upon your new equation, what is the initial value of the car? Well, if you look right here on our actual equation, you can see it. This is your initial value. You notice it's a little different than, I can't even get my pen. You'll notice it's different than what was originally in here, and that is because, once again, it's the best fit. So that's what I'm wanting you to pick up on. The other thing I wanted you, wasn't that 32,960? I think I lost the 0 there. Okay. The other thing I want you to notice is that when you look on here, this equation isn't looking the same as ours. So we need to go ahead and learn how to make this calculator fix some numbers when they're not displaying properly. And that just has to do with how many places you're allowing it to type. So we're going to go to menu, and we'll go to settings. And this float 3, we're going to change to auto and hit OK. And now you'll notice our regression here, or our regression, it looks correct now. So the next question it's asking us is, well, what is the y-intercept? So to find the y-intercept, that is where x equals 0, right? So anytime you have an x value and you've got a graph, all you have to do is do menu, and I want to do trace, graph trace, and notice it'll automatically come up with the y-intercept. So then I put 0, 32, 9, 60. Whoops, forgot my 9. Now, the other thing I already know, because I've read a little ahead, how much will the car be worth in 10 years? Well, this is where x equals 10, right? So once again, since I'm already in this spot in my calculator, well, if I want to know 10 years, I'm still under this graph trace. I can type in 10, 0. Notice how it's got x equals 10, 0. And I push enter, and it'll give me the answer for that. So in 10 years, the car will be worth $5,861.72. Okay? Then I think our next question talks about when. In other words, what's the x value? This is y equals 16,425. So what's the x to go with that? Well, anytime it tells you a y value, all you're going to do is graph it. To add a graph to this, I'm going to hit tab, and I'm going to type in 16,425 and push enter. Now it's graphed a horizontal line for me. I don't want to do that. I'm trying to, it's not allowing me to, there we go. I'm trying to grab, okay, undo. It is not allowing me to get these out of the way. So I'll just leave it. 16,425. Mine does not do the little, on the board it's very difficult for me to use the pad. So my answer to this question, got a little off. My answer to this question is right here at this intersection. So to find that answer, I'm going to go to menu, and keep in mind anytime, that's why I always use the words, because when you go to menu you can always, oh yeah, I'm going to analyze graph. I'm going to do an intersection, and so you need this dashed line to be to the left of it, and then you need it to be to the right of it, and you're just going to scroll back and forth, and then it will give you your answer. So we have 4.03 years approximately. Then it says after an extended period of time, what's going to happen to the value of the car? Well, think about it. After 10 years goes by, after 20 years go by, well, the more time that goes by, it's going to approach the value of 0. And that's based upon it not becoming an antique and actually starting to grow in value again. Okay? So what I'm interested in you noticing is on your graph, I want to know, well, what is it approaching then with regard to a horizontal asymptote? So when I look at my graph and I follow this line right here, as it goes out to infinity, and infinity is not realistic, the car is not going to last forever, but as it continues to go out, as the years continue to go by, what value will the car approach? Well, it's going to approach 0, but it's never going to actually just be worth absolutely nothing. So it will approach a horizontal boundary, a horizontal asymptote of 0. But it won't ever be equal actually to nothing. Okay? So now let's see about graphing this information. So I've asked you to do a rough sketch of this graph. If we're going to do a rough sketch, then what I'm interested in is just drawing a x and y axis. Okay? My x I'm going to label number of years. And then my y, just like it's labeled in the table, I'm going to label value. Okay? It has told me to label the y-intercept. So here's my y-intercept. And when you do a rough sketch, I'm not going to do tick marks or anything like that. I'm literally just going to label this point. So the y-intercept is what we just got a minute ago, which is 0, 32, 960.2. Okay? And then after that, it tells me to label my my horizontal asymptote. Well, keep in mind that horizontal asymptote is at, y equals 0. So I'm just going to draw that horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. That's obviously a straighter line than my line that I drew. So let's see. Let's fix my line. So my line should be running right along. Oh, no. Oh, time to go home. Got nothing left. There we go. My line's going right along with this horizontal asymptote as well, okay? So what it's saying is our graph is going to curve down toward it, but it's never actually going to touch it. So as it goes out to infinity, it's going to kind of flatten out. Now to the left of this graph would look like this. And that's what these curves all look like. So then we're supposed to write the domain for this. Well, the domain for this, first question you got to ask yourself is it continuous or discrete? This one's continuous, which means we do our less than x less than. This graph will go to the left forever, which means it's going to go to negative infinity. And it will go to the right forever, which means it's going to infinity. So then when it asks for the range, it's how low will it go? Well, keep in mind that that bottom boundary, was 0. So it's not going to go any lower than that, but it's not actually ever going to equal 0, so we wouldn't put an equal sign. And then that left side of this graph is going up to infinity forever, so that would be our range for this. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know.